Welcome to Motherhood. I'm Dr. Christina Hibbert, here to help you overcome, to become, and to flourish in this ever-changing experience we call motherhood. Today we're going to be talking about some of the changes we can choose to make in our energy level, in how we feel about ourselves, in how we feel in general, in our health, in our mental health, because we're going to be talking about how we can focus on our mom fitness and keeping ourselves healthy through exercise, and how we can actually, fit it in with our busy schedules, why it's so important, and some ideas for specific exercises that might be really especially helpful for us as moms, especially to get those energy levels up, which I know we so need as moms. So stick with me. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute, and I'll introduce our guest. But I just want to thank you for joining us here for Motherhood each week, and for joining us online on my website at drchristinahibbert.com, where you can find all kinds of resources, including a link to my book, 8 Keys to Health Through Exercise, and other resources to help you with the things we'll be talking about today. As well, I'm so grateful that you join us on social media, and be sure to join our Facebook group, Growing Through Motherhood. If you haven't already, just ask to be added, Growing Through Motherhood, and we'd love to have you there, as well as on all the other social media channels where we can connect and get to know each other better and support one another. Now, as I was saying, we're going to be talking about fitness and energy, and we've talked in different ways on the show before. As all of you know, I am a huge fan of exercise daily, not just for us to look good, which I think many of us start wanting to look better or to lose weight, but really exercise for our mental health, for our emotional health, for energy, for life satisfaction, for happiness. I'm a fan. So today we're going to focus in on some hows, and I'm really excited to have our guest here today. Alan Misner, welcome to Motherhood.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And Alan and I connected because I was able to do an episode of his podcast, and now I'm having him over on mine because he is a fitness professional. And he has, he found himself in his mid-40s wanting to improve his health and fitness. So he started learning how to not only improve his health and fitness, but become a certified personal trainer. So he is going to give us more of those hows of exercise from that personal trainer perspective. He then dedicated himself to helping other people over 40 get healthy and fit. So he launched the 40 Plus Fitness podcast to encourage, educate, and entertain people as they move along their health and fitness path. And he's also the founder and head trainer at Forever Fitness, an online personal training platform. He's also married and lives with his wife in Ruston, Louisiana, and they have 4 adult children. So he's a dad, so he gets that. And he has 3 very spoiled dogs, which we get that too. And so you can learn more about Alan and all his work at older.fitness/about. But also he has a great free gift. Why don't you tell us briefly about the free gift that everybody can get, and I'll give them the link there.
Okay. Well, a lot of times when you're trying to, on a podcast, particularly an audio podcast, which is what 40 Plus Fitness is,
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain what an exercise looks like. And so we're going to talk about some exercises, and I'm going to give you a general idea of how that exercise works. But for you to really kind of get it, you need to see it. And so I actually have a video course basically demonstrating each of the exercises that we're going to talk about today. And each of these exercises, I've paired them up to basically be done as a workout that you can just do one time through, or if you get to a certain fitness level, you can then start circuiting through it. So it's just something that you can either add 1 or 2 of the exercises to your program, or you can go ahead and just do this as a workout. And it's basically designed to give you some of those fitness modalities that you would need as a mother.
So this is awesome, and he's set this up for moms in particular. So it focuses on just what we might need, and you'll talk a little bit about some of these things today. But like you said, you can go see it online. You can go to older.fitness/motherhood, and at that link you can register for this free gift, which is a fabulous gift. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, so let's jump in here. Let's talk about the why of exercise. I'm a big fan of the idea of discovering your why. I wrote about that in pretty much every book I've ever written. Is we have to have that why and understanding to motivate us. So And also, that's what helps us to overcome the roadblocks that come along, right? So let's talk a little bit about, what do you think about why people exercise, or what kind of why do we need in order to actually stick with it, especially as moms when we're busy and have so many things pulling at us?
Well, I think a lot of mothers feel that they need to be there all the time for their children. And I get that, the desire to kind of self-sacrifice, to be there for your children as they're growing up. The problem with that mindset is that over time, your body degrades because you're not taking care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so over time, you're actually giving less and less and less. Even though you're putting the same amount of time in, you don't have the energy and you don't really have the stamina to kind of keep up with your children as they start growing. And then particularly if you're having a second and then third kid, and I guess you had six, right?
Well, two were adopted, but yes, I do have
Okay.
six. Yeah, still.
But still,
Yeah.
at the energy level that you need to kind of keep up with that as you go through that process, just it escalates. And
Yeah.
so to be there for your kids, you really have to take that step back and start taking care of yourself. So the true why can still be your kids.
Yeah.
But just understanding that the delivery of that means that you have to do the maintenance on the machinery, which is your body.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think we do forget that, especially as moms. Like you say, we've gone through childbirth, your body stretches, it hopefully goes somewhat back to normal, and then it stretches again. And I mean, man, all that damage we've done to ourselves. And then the stress of taking care of other people all the time. And like you say, putting ourselves last and always putting everybody else first. And we talk about that a lot on this show about self-care. And really, that's what I think you're talking about, is we need to prioritize our care in order to really make exercise work for us, right?
Yes, and then the other aspect of it is during these periods of time, when you're doing these exercises, if you'll get off of the term workout and actually start thinking about it as me time, you can actually start finding this as a good break, a good reprieve. And so you're reducing stress, you're going to sleep better, you're going to feel better, and then you're going to have more energy because you have less stress and you're sleeping better and you're feeling better.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of people, when they start working out, now they're much more mindful of what they're putting in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not eating the vanilla wafers that they're feeding to their children.
Right.
And all the other little goodies that are hanging around the house because you have children. You're a little bit more focused on your nutrition and saying, if I'm going to put this effort in the gym, say 1 hour per day, what am I doing the other 23 hours that could dismantle that time I've invested in the gym? So use that time in the gym, or use that time when you're working out as kind of the me time, where you're getting away from the stress of what's going on and really kind of focusing on what you need.
That's a great perspective to have and to shift to, because I do think a lot of us think, oh, it's another thing I have to do, or it's another thing that's hard for me, or it's like you say, it's a workout, or I have to go. And we have this idea of how exercise looks, but me time, we all want some me time. That sounds good.
And here's the other thing. These particular exercises that I'm doing are actually things you can do around the house while your children are there.
Yeah.
And in many cases, they'll see them and think they're so much fun, they'll actually want to participate with you, which is teaching them a valuable lesson.
Right. You're setting the example for them that way.
Yes, absolutely.
Modeling. And I'm, again, I'm a fan of that too. I have a whole chapter in my book on exercise as a family, and that we can really not only fit it into our busy schedule, but as we include our children, like you say, we model for them, they develop these habits, they get healthier, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, so this morning I was doing a PiYo. This is the new, beach body workout. I was trying this out, and I was liking it. I like it. It's been fun. It's been a different workout for me. I like yoga. I like Pilates. And my daughter, who's 8, came in, and she's like, "Can I try?" Because I'm like upside down and downward dog and doing these kind of like push-ups and different things. And it was hard for her, but she pulled out a yoga mat and she lasted about 5 minutes. But still, it, like you say, it looks fun. It's fun for them. Then they can come and join you, and they can leave when they want to. But we're giving them those habits for life.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So we got to get that why, and a mind shift is really what I'm hearing is, we got to put ourselves on our list. We can't take care of others if we don't take care of ourselves, and we've got to see it as me time. Really love that, everybody. I hope you heard that. And involve our kids too, so that we can get them going. So once we get the why going, Then I think a big sticking point for a lot of people is the what. So maybe they really do want that me time of exercise, but what are they going to do? Right? So how do
Yes.
we choose that? Where do we start with the
Okay.
what?
I think, first you have to set some understanding of what you actually want out of this. So what's the end game of all of this? And some of this just might be, I don't know what I really want to accomplish, but I want to get started.
Yeah.
So many people will go into the gym because they don't know anything about what they really want. And then they see the treadmills, which are almost always parked towards the front. And they stop there and say, well, I know how to use this piece of equipment. And I know this will burn calories and this will help me lose weight. Well, weight is not a proxy for health.
Mm-hmm.
It just isn't. I mean, I know we look at the scale, we're being told we need to lose weight. There's the BMI, there's the this and that. The reality is weight has nothing to do with health.
Right. That's important. I hope everybody heard that. Weight has nothing to do with health. Tell us more about that.
So body composition does.
Yeah.
And what they found in studies is the more lean muscle mass that you have, the better your overall health is going to be and the longer you're going to live.
Mm-hmm.
And the more strength that you have, which is also sort of correlated with muscle mass in a lot of ways, the longer you're going to live.
Mm-hmm.
So strength building is important, and it's important for quite a few reasons beyond just wanting to live longer. Then you're being the great grandparent and maybe the great great grandparent, as you get older. But the reality of as you get into lifting weights and getting stronger is you're at least retarding the loss of muscle as you get older. After the age of 35, the average person, if they do not do resistance training, and remember, I said resistance training, so I'll be very clear about that later, why I use that term rather than lifting weights. But if you do no resistance training at all, you're likely to lose about 1% of your muscle mass per year. Mm-hmm. Okay, so put that in context of how much muscle mass you have today. Mm-hmm. And if you were to get rid of, say, 35% of it by the time you're 70,
wow,
what's moving around going to be like for you then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be tough.
Okay. But at any age, even after the age of 35, even after the age of 60, you can add muscle mass if you do resistance training. And so I'll take that step back and kind of talk about resistance training and what I mean by that. Okay. A lot of people think of weight training, thinking they've got to get out there and do those free weights and they've got to be doing the machines and all those other things. And the reality is those are awesome tools, but they're not the only way. Mm-hmm. The best equipment that you have that costs you absolutely nothing is the body that you're living in. Mm-hmm. Your body has weight to it, and maybe a little bit more weight right now than you think it should have, but that's your resistance. You can do body weight movements at the beginning that will train you, and you can do body weight movements. Even elite athletes can be well trained and well conditioned just with body weight.
Wow. And that's really helpful for women and moms who are listening, because I think a lot of times women are kind of afraid of weights, which we shouldn't be. And I think, lifting weights is great too. But you're right. We don't have to start with fancy equipment. I think we also get that in our head. We have to go to the gym. We have to be able to lift this X amount of weight. We have to look a certain way. And what you're saying is no, absolutely not. We can just start with our body with doing simple lunges, squat. I mean, explain kind of that type of stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah,
push-ups.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Anything where you're moving your body, be it a squat, be it a push-up, pull-up, be it a lunge, all of those compound movements are working your muscles. Mm-hmm. And that work then, along with rest and nutrition, will result in muscle retention and or muscle gain. If I want then to provide the appropriate stimulus to get a little bigger, to add a little bit more muscle mass, or to get a little stronger, that's when I would want to either make the exercise harder or start actually, using weights. That tends to be the easiest way to do it, is just say, okay, now I'm just going to put some weights, like do a goblet squat, which is an exercise we'll talk about in a minute, where you basically are holding a weight in front of you and then you're squatting down. So instead of doing body weights, now I'm holding a weight in front of me and I'm doing the squat. So I'm adding some resistance to that exercise.
That's great. And so everybody listening, we should not be afraid of using weights. We women, it's really good for us. It actually builds our bone strength, helps prevent osteoporosis, which we are prone to, right? I mean, we shouldn't be afraid of weights, right?
You shouldn't. And here's the other thing. I know a lot of folks will sit there and they'll look at these female bodybuilders and they'll say, well, God, no, I don't want to look like a man.
Right.
I don't want to get big and bulky.
Yes.
Well, you won't.
Yeah.
And here's why you won't. One is you're childbearing age or older. You're not going to be in that mode of where you're going to be building a lot of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the testosterone to build a lot of muscle,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not working the way they work out. A basic bodybuilder, when you see a professional bodybuilder, those folks are dedicating 2 to 3 hours per day in the gym, lifting with incredible intensity.
Yeah. Yes. Right. That's
You'll
important.
put on some muscle mass, but you'll look actually leaner
Right.
by putting on that muscle mass because your metabolism will go up through the process of doing this workout.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of one of those deals of saying, let's say you had a bucket with all these little grains of sand, and every day you were able to throw 5 grains of sand out of that bucket. Well, if you started working out, I say now you're able to throw 6 grains of sand out of that bucket.
Mm-hmm.
It would hardly be noticeable that you were burning those extra calories. But over the course of a year, over the course of 5 to 10 years, that little bit of difference is going to make a big difference in the amount of sand that you have left in your bucket.
Right. And that's why it's important to build that muscle mass, because it does help you to burn extra calories. And like you say, it leads to you looking leaner, but also feeling stronger, being healthier, mental health, all of that.
And when you have the strength, now in your everyday activities, you're doing more.
Right.
Because you have the energy and you have the strength to do things. So you're not fatiguing when you're out there throwing your kids around or swinging them around. You're out there playing with them more. So now there's more activity in your life, and you're enjoying that time a lot more.
And you make a good point, because we as moms sure do have to lift a lot of things, like carrying those baby carriers. I mean, it's ridiculous. You'd think you'd have like the hugest muscles from just carrying a little baby carrier around, but so it is good to be stronger for that. So this is one component, but there are 2 others. So let's get into the other 2 components of fitness here.
Okay. The other one is endurance.
Okay.
Okay. And you guys know little children have so much endurance. It's incredible how they put that much energy in a little bitty body, and then you just set it loose. I remember when I was 20, there was a little boy, and he was the nephew of the girl I was dating at the time, and he just had all of this energy and all these adults around him. There were no other kids his age around, so he sit there and had this ball, and he just decided to make up a little game. And what he would do is he would squat down in a really good squat, sit there for a minute, just like a catcher, and then he would just throw the ball as far as he could. And they would run, just jump up and run to that ball. And then he would get on the ball, pick up the ball, and then he would squat down again and throw the ball again.
Wow.
and looking back at that, I was like, that's a huge opportunity that we adults missed to go play with that kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just me not thinking about it. But as a mom now, because when I was a parent, it's like I ran with my daughter. I did all those things with my daughter because I'm like, I won't get this again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she wants to play squat ball. She never did. But if she ever decided she wanted to play squat ball, I'm playing squat ball.
Right. Right. So we need to be able to keep up with them. So that's why the endurance is, and that's where like a cardiovascular exercise type comes in.
Right. Just making sure you're moving. Now, you can actually do cross training, and even these exercises can be built into somewhat of a cross training deal, where you're just not taking breaks between each exercise, and you're quickly moving from exercise to exercise.
Right.
So just the speed with which you do it and not giving yourself a break, basically you'll get that opportunity to kind of build that endurance. But you can do specific endurance work if you'd like.
Yeah, right. Okay, great. And then the other component is mobility, right?
Mobility, yes. Okay. A lot of us spend time in office jobs now. We sit 8 hours or more. And those of us that don't sit, there's probably just as many who spend 8 or more hours just standing all day.
Yeah.
Okay? And as the result, if you don't use parts of your body says you don't need them. And then your body makes them unavailable to you. Mm-hmm. So, because we spend all of our time sitting, we end up with very, very stiff hips, and we end up with very, very weak glutes. Mm-hmm. That's the butt. That's the part you want to look nice.
That's right.
But it's not going to look nice if you sit on it. If you sit on it, no one can see it while you're sitting on it, and you don't want anyone to see it when you're not sitting.
Good point.
So
we want to be able to move as we get older. That's what happens, right? We get tight and we can't walk, we can't keep up with our kids, we can't keep up with life.
You've seen the old lady shuffle or the old man shuffle when they start using that mobility and they can't do something. I mean, it's the point where you sit there and you drop $100 bill on the floor and you just rather just leave it there than pick it up because it's so hard to get down there and pick up that $100 bill. Right. It literally gets that way. And so what we want to try to accomplish here is to get back some natural movement patterns.
Yeah. Right.
And so a lot of what I'm doing here with this workout and what I like to do with my clients is, and it's a term that's being used a lot now, but I think it's a little bit misused, and it's called functional fitness. You've probably heard that term.
Yes.
Okay, functional fitness is a great concept, but we misuse it a lot of times. And what I mean by that is you're a mom, and you need mom fitness. You need functional fitness that's designed for your lifestyle.
Right, and functional fitness is basically like fitness that helps you with everyday functions of what you're doing, right? So
yes.
Just for those people who haven't heard that term before.
So if we're going to design a program that's going to make your life better,
right,
then that program should be designed specifically for you.
Yes.
But if you go into a class, a functional fitness class, you've got a guy who's 300 pounds doing the same workout you've got the 120-pound mom doing.
Right.
How is what they live, their lifestyle, how are they functionally the same that they would be doing the same workout? And the reality is that they aren't. So those are generic functional movement sets that do help everybody in general, but they don't optimize what you need in your life. So as you start to design a program for yourself or start thinking about the workouts that you want, you've got your why. You've got what you want to accomplish with this, what you want to be able to do. So I want to have the strength to be able to lift and throw my kids around and all their stuff. Yes. And I want to be able to, I want to have the mobility. So when I'm walking around the living room picking up Legos so we don't step on them, I've got the mobility to just squat down there and pick those up and no problem, drop them in the bucket and we're good. And I've got the endurance to keep up with these little ones as much as I want to.
Great. And so that brings us to the how. So we had the why, the what, and the how. And you actually have some 5 exercises you can kind of share with us here. And like you said, then our listeners can go and see them online by going to your website at older.fitness/motherhood.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so tell us.
Okay. The first one is basically going to do 2 things. It's going to help with the mobility in the hips and the legs and the calves and the ankles. Okay. And it's going to help build upper body strength. Who doesn't want to have a little bit more upper body strength?
Yeah, I think we all need that. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's called a bear crawl. And so this one's pretty easy to visualize. What you're going to want to do is kind of squat down, or you can get on all fours on your knees and your hands if you want to start. And then basically you're going to rock back onto your feet. So your legs are fairly well bent, pretty tight, and you got your hands on the ground holding and supporting your body. And then you're going to lift your butt up a little bit, kind of keep your back up, and then just think of walking like a bear. So you walk across the floor. And what I typically do is I'll have my clients go about 20 yards in one direction and then turn around and walk back. And that's one.
With all fours on the ground. So you're imagining a bear just kind of crawling across.
You're just the bear crawling across the floor. So, they're both the kind of the right side goes forward, and then the left side comes forward. And then you just, as a bear, you just walk down the floor and then you turn around, you walk back. And for folks that haven't done a move like this, your kids are going to love to watch you do it, for one.
They probably want to do it with you. Yeah, it's fun.
They're going to want to play this one, So they see mom start crawling around like a bear on the floor. They're going to be like, okay, I'm going to be a bear too. Or maybe they want to be a different animal, and you can talk. So you go be a rabbit and then let them just hop around. But that's a fun little game you can play with them. So that's the bear crawl. And this is going to help, again, build some upper body strength and some mobility in the hips and legs.
Okay, love it.
Okay, the next one is that exercise I talked about earlier, the goblet squat. And again, it's pretty hard to think about how it actually works, but that's why the videos are going to help. But what you're effectively doing is, if you get to a point where you're doing body weight squats and, basically, like I said, you're maxing those out and you can just do body weight squats all the way down and no problem, then it's time maybe to consider this. And one of the advantages that the goblet squat has over the traditional squat is a lot of people, because of the mobility in the hips, they want to lean forward as they're going and doing a squat. So if you watch yourself doing a squat and you notice that your upper body has a tendency to move forward considerably, there'll be some natural movement forward. But if it's really moving forward, you know that you have some mobility issues. So the goblet squat is going to force you to be a little bit more upright, because you're going to effectively hold a weight between your hands with your elbows locked. So this is a rack type position. And so there's a little bit of upper body strength to hold the weight, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to go through the squat motion. And what you'll have to do as you're doing this is keep your upper body relatively upright through that movement.
Right, because you're it's not just your hands together, but you're saying like bring your arms together where your elbows are kind of in together, and hold the weight up.
Yeah.
So it forces your body to have to kind of stay up otherwise because it's in the way.
And
right?
if you lean forward, that weight's going to go forward. And then that's going to make it very hard for you to hold that weight with your hands because the weight's going to want to go forward. A lot of people will do this with a kettlebell, but you can easily do this with a dumbbell. You can do it with, I've seen people do it with heavy jars, a gallon of milk, stuff you have around the house. So you don't have to invest in a ton of equipment, but if you have it, this is one where you would actually want to use maybe some dumbbells or a kettlebell.
Yeah, when I first started in college lifting weights, I had giant shampoo bottles because I did not have weights. So, I started with those and then I worked my way up and actually bought some weights. So everybody, you don't have to spend a fortune to do this either.
Not at all.
Okay, what's the third one?
Okay, the third one is called the Russian kettlebell swing. And this is one where I would recommend that you use a kettlebell.
Okay.
And what you're going to want to do is basically put the kettlebell on the floor. And then you're going to squat down. Again, when we lift with our legs, not with our back. Yeah. So I want you to squat down with your legs basically spread a little bit wider than shoulder width apart and grasp the handle of the kettlebell and then stand up with it, but with the kettlebell resting between your legs. Okay? And now what you want to do is using your hips, not your arms, you want to bring that kettlebell forward. To a point where it's level with your shoulders. So you're going to come forward. It's probably hard to see here, but basically if you could think, I've got it down between my legs and I'm using my hips to pop it up to about this point.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of my chest.
Straight arms.
Yeah, and basically straight arms. And again, all my arms really are at that point is like, you've got to think of them like a rope. Yeah. They're not creating any of the energy to pull that up. It's all with my hips.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay, so you're pumping it all with your hips, and this is going to help build the bottom, the butt.
Which
so that's the strength. That's the strength in the butt, and there's a little bit of endurance to this, and you do have to grasp. So there's going to be some grip strength for you to just maintain your grip on that kettlebell.
Love it. Okay, and I think I've seen that one done before, but I haven't done that before. But I love your point about you're using your hips. It's not like you're just using your upper body and straining yourself that way. You're actually using your lower body to pull up.
You are using your hips, and it's really pop it up with your hips, and you can get relatively heavy with this exercise over time as you start learning. It's just a matter of using good form and then just using your hips and popping it up. There's an American version as well where you go over your head, but I don't think there's a structural or functional reason why you would go higher than just your shoulders.
Yeah.
You can get it and it looks like you could just send it all the way to the roof, then I'd say just use a little bit more weight.
Okay, sounds great. All right, so two more. What are the last two exercises?
The next one is the burpee.
Oh, yeah.
And anyone that's done a burpee hates the burpee.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's hard, but it works.
It's hard.
It works.
It is hard, and it's very metabolically challenging.
Yeah.
So this is an endurance movement. If you're going to do a lot of them, it's endurance movement. And it's also one that's going to work your whole body. So the first thing you're going to do is you're basically going to stand with your hands over your head. You're going to then squat down to the ground, touch your hands to the ground slightly in front of you, kick your feet back to where you're in like the full push-up position. Do a push-up.
Yes.
Bring your knees back up to your chest. Stand up, jump, and clap.
Yes.
That's okay.
Clap now, because you did it. Yay.
Clap because you did it. And you'll feel good if you get one done. And by the time you're doing 6 or 7, then you won't feel quite as good. And if it's your birthday, and a lot of CrossFit gyms require you to do one burpee for every year you live. So that's just one thing. If you've got a birthday coming up, that's something you can challenge yourself to do.
It sounds like a lot. But that's great. And that's a great exercise. Like you say, all over body. It definitely gets your heart rate pumping. And like you said, if you're doing these exercises in a row, you're going to be feeling that cardio going too, right? Yeah.
And then the last one is the Turkish get up. And this one, I really have a hard time explaining it to you on the video, on audio. But basically, you're going to take a weight, you're going to lay on your back, and you're literally going to put the weight over your face with one arm. Okay. And then you're going to go through a series of movements with the bent knee, and then into a seated position, and then into basically a bridge, a hip bridge on that one leg. Then you're going to swing the leg back to where you're on one knee, and then you're going to stand up. Then you're going to work that in exact opposite going back down. And then, you do a few on one side, somewhere 5 to 10 on one side, then you switch arms and you do the other side.
So this sounds tricky, but exciting. I think I want to go see what this is all about. I've never heard of this. Okay.
The good thing about a Turkish get-up is it is another full body exercise.
Yeah.
It's one that you don't have to use a lot of weight. In fact, you might even try to not use really any weight at all when you first start doing this. So this is not one you're going to use a whole lot of weight. It's going to work your abdominals. It's going to work your butt. It's going to work your legs all the way up. And then the other thing it does is it works your mind. So you have to be very cerebral while you're doing this exercise. And the other thing I'll tell you is you have to keep your eyes on the weight because you have to keep the weight over your center of mass so you can actually hold the weight in place. So there's a lot of hand-eye coordination. There's a lot of balance. There's a lot of, strength and then the general mind-body connection. And at this point, if you've done the other 4 exercises, you're a little bit winded.
Yeah.
So you're still kind of keeping that, maybe giving your heart rate a chance to take down just a little from those burpees, but you're really having to focus at a point when you're a little fatigued and maybe a lot fatigued.
Yeah.
But going through that exercise at that point. And so that would be one set, and what you can do is you can decide to do this like a circuit and say, I'm going to do 3 sets. At first, maybe just go through it one time and just see how you feel. Maybe add one exercise, do one exercise, get good at it, and then you can kind of see if you want to piece this together as part of another program or actually just use this as a workout.
I love it. And these are they're practical. I'm excited to try this and to download the videos. So again, everybody can go to older.fitness/motherhood and just register there, and you'll get access to the free videos of all these exercises and then use them to build upon, right? And these are great because I love how you put them all together. They, like you said, they work your whole body and all the components of fitness that we want to get, and hopefully give us that energy and that strength and endurance and mobility, all those parts that we want. Yes, and do it with your kids. I mean, it's a great family fitness. Have a family fitness night and get your husband or partner involved. Everybody can do it together. But yes. I love that you it just for moms because, all of you listening out there, I know we need this. We need exercise in our life. We need the me time of exercise. Well, thank you, Ellen, for your advice on this and for putting together a program for our listeners and that focuses on what we need as moms, because I think that's where a lot of us get stuck. We just don't know where to start. So you all have no reason not to try.
And I think they should take videos of them doing this workout and send that to you.
Oh, that's great.
On your Facebook,
I would love it.
You have a Facebook page, right?
Oh, you're so smart. Yes, I would love it. Yeah. If you download the videos and you start to do the exercise, I want you to send me a video, and I'm going to share them with Alan here. And we would love to share them with others to inspire them to do the same workout. That's a great idea. Thank you. Thank you.
Accountability.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, accountability. That's another part. We talked about that on other episodes, but yeah, that's really important. So thank you again, Ellen, for that and for putting that together and for being here and sharing your wisdom with us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And for all of you listening, thanks for joining us here as you do each week. And for more on this, again, go to older.fitness/motherhood for that workout. Also, you can check out my book, 8 Keys to Mental Health Through Exercise, if you're struggling with things like roadblocks and motivation and more of the mental side of things. And we can get you guys using that me time wisely for some exercise for yourself, for your family, getting you feeling more energized, healthier, and growing through motherhood as we try to do here each week instead of just going through it. So join us again next time, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.